So to log into Nookal, you'll need your company ID, which is a business ID that we give to everyone in your organisation. And then you'll also have your individual email and password so that you can log into your individual profile. If you're not sure what any of these are, it's best to reach out to a manager or owner in your business so that they can allocate an email and password to you. You've also got this forgot password link if you have logged into Nookal before but you're having trouble with your password. And this company ID as well, if you're ever looking for support from our team, it's always good to have this on hand so that they can look into your issue for you. And then we just select login. So when you first log into Nookal, you'll land on your dashboard screen. Your dashboard, depending on your permission level, will give different statistics. And any statistic you want to explore further, you can just click on that field and it'll take you to the relevant report and then you can generate it. For providers, one thing that you'll have is incomplete notes. So it'll have a list of your clients who have a book in the diary and no note attached. So you can kind of keep track of any notes that you might need to write. Up here, this is where you can log out of your Nookal account. You can also set up two-factor authentication, which we have a video on that you can follow the instructions for. Within here, you can also keep track of your professional development events and attach any documentation that you may require for proof of attendance. And then also we've got this area, My Files. This is good for the reception team who can share documents together. So if you upload something into your shared file, the other staff members can also see that file. And there's other features obviously in there, so just be aware that that area exists. Now if you go into your diary, this is where you'll obviously be able to see all your bookings. What we do is have locations in different tabs up across the top. So if you have more than one location, you'll just see them listed across here. And then for each location, you can see the providers that are set up for that location. You've also got your day, week and month view. You can jump to any days into the future. You can hide that tab if you like. You've also got this location versus practitioner view. So if you click on that little toggle screen, you'll see a different view. And one of the benefits of doing this is that you can look at one provider and see what their day looks like across multiple locations. The other benefit is that if you want to look at classes for all providers, all locations, you can come into here and you'll be able to see every class that exists at the two locations or however many locations you might have. Let's go back to our location view. The other thing that you can change in terms of your diary view is to go up into your options tab on the top right-hand corner. And there are quite a few different options that you have with regards to how you want to view your diary. So you might want to change it from a Monday to Friday view to a Monday to Sunday view. Same with your start time, end time. And perhaps, you want to have a red line going across the diary to indicate the time right now. So there's just a few different options. So just be aware that you can come in here and change these. Now, any settings that you change in here won't impact anyone else's diary view. It's just going to change yours. The other thing that I'll just quickly touch on is these diary tabs here. So basically this allows you to change who you see in your diary. So even though Kim might be linked to one of the locations that you're in, you can set Kim up to be hidden. So if we save that now, Kim will no longer be showing on our diary. You can also change Kim to be automatic, which means that if Kim's got a booking in the diary or availability, so white space in the diary, they'll show up for you, or you can just have them set to show always. The other thing in here that'll be useful is setting schedules up. So if you want to set up a new schedule, let's say we're setting one up for Kim, you click on the provider's name, you click on the little blue arrow, and then you can see the different locations, and we want to add a schedule. You can just click through that first step. You've got the option to make it a weekly or fortnightly sort of schedule. I'm going to do a weekly schedule for this example. And then you want to select the days that they have the same schedule. So let's say on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, this provider works from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. And maybe Tuesday and Thursdays, they work different hours. So we'll just do this schedule at this point and click next. And then we want to select the day it'll start from. You can never change the historical diary, so it'll just be a matter of changing it either from today or if it's going to start in a couple of weeks. You can choose that date. I'm going to do today. And again, you've got the choice to have an indefinite schedule, or you can set it up just for the next 6 months or whatever it might be. Finally, you can add in a break. So let's say at 10 a.m. till 10:15, Kim takes a tea break. And you can add in as many as you like. Click save. And now that we've set up that schedule, you'll be able to see what it looks like on an ongoing basis. You can go into detailed view, and if they had multiple schedules, you could see them all listed underneath. So now if we get out of there, and I'm going to have Kim set up to show, we can see now that the schedule we just created is in there now. So from 9 till 1, and then with that little tea break. And so yeah, basically the schedules create this white space in the diary. Obviously it's important for your reception team to know when each provider is available for bookings, but it also becomes important when you go to set up online bookings, because the white space will be the time that your clients can book in with your providers. So it becomes more important when you do set that up. Now, in terms of what can be booked into your diary, you've got services, notes, classes, and also events. And they're very simple to book in. You just click on the diary where you want it to go and start searching for your client. Now, if there is a match for that client, you'll see the list of clients underneath, so you can just select that client. But if they're a new client, you would just click create client. You've also got an option to create clients from the client section up here. But if you want to book them in for an appointment at the same time, you just click create client. You'll need to put in some basic details. You might want to provide consent so that they receive their SMS and email reminders. And you've got marketing consent as well. And then we're going to click create client. And this is where we can allocate the service that they're coming in for. So let's say this client's coming in for an initial appointment. Everything else pretty much default, but you've got the option to add in notes, add them to the waiting list. And then over here is where you can set them up with their case. So for this example, we're just going to call it ankle injury, and they're going to pay private. So just make note of that in the case title, but you don't have to. And yeah, we're going to leave that as private, but if it was a third party, you could just select third party, add in the contact. You've also got marketing referrers here, so you can add in and track marketing referrers as well. So now we're going to click create appointment, and we can now see Tim is in the diary. Now, if you want to get just a snapshot of what this appointment's about, you can hover your mouse over the appointment and you get all the details relating to the appointment. But if you want more information, you just can click on that booking and it'll open up our appointment window. In the appointment window, we've got the classic view, we've got a fresh view. I'm going to work out of the classic view, but both interfaces have the same functionality. If you do change your preferred view, just remember to click save so that it remembers your preference. From here, you've got your client details, you've got case details. So this is the case we've just set up and the payer linked to this appointment. And then we've also got appointment details. So there's the service that we just selected as well. Everything else sort of defaults based on where you've booked them in. Just to quickly touch on the notes, you've got appointment notes, which are notes relating just to this appointment. So maybe they're bringing in a referral or something like that, and you want to make note of it. Your client notes are notes that are going to stay on this client profile. And then you've got alert notes, which is going to show up on every single appointment, and you'll get a little alert to make you aware. If you need to change the appointment type, you can easily do that. You can change the time of the appointment manually here, and you can also move an appointment if you need to. The other option that you have is to just drag and drop it wherever it needs to go. You can also shorten that appointment or lengthen it. So yeah, a few options there. Okay, so let's next take a look at how to set up a class in your diary. So presuming you've already got classes set up in the back end, you can come into the diary and just select where you want to book the class in, and then select class, confirm what type of group session you want to run. And then you've got the option to either make it a single occurring class or a recurring class. So if you select recurring, you can choose the frequency and then the number of repetitions, and then check availability to see if there's space in the diary. For this example, I'm going to just book one class. So I'm going to click create class, and then you can start adding your clients into the class. So we'll add our client from earlier. Okay, and then you can select the case for the class. And then we've got the option to change the payer. And each payer can be set up with a different code and price, so you can just select the correct one. And we have a video on this topic as well. And then we can just add the client to that class. So there's Tim. Now, if we decide later on, actually I want to make it a recurring class, you can just come up into timetable. Again, select the day, so it's Tuesday. I'm going to have it on a weekly basis and going for 8 weeks. And then you'll be given the option to either recur clients within each of those classes or just book in the classes and then you can add in each client as you go. We're going to check availability. As you can see, they're all available and we can just select add to timetable. And then if we go across, you'll see Tim's showing up in each of those classes. So if we go back to the first one that we booked, click on Tim. As you can see, we've got all our options through here. So if we want to edit the booking, you can just come back into edit booking. You can see what classes they're booked in for, and then you can always remove them from some if they can't attend. And then you can also have a look if they've got any other class bookings. And as you can see, it's only these ones that we've booked them in. Once we go back here, and you've got all your other functions like sending messages, editing notes, changing the statuses and taking payment for the class. You've also got the option to purchase passes and redeem passes, which I will show you a little bit later in this video. So that's our classes booked in. Okay, let's have a quick look at how to create an event. It's pretty straightforward. You just click on the diary, click on event, give your event a title, and then each event can be set up with a different category. And the categories can be configured in the back end to contribute to your professional development, for example. And there can also be settings to change whether this event reduces your schedule, and that becomes more important when you're looking at occupancy reports and things like that. So yeah, there's a few settings to be aware of. And then obviously you've got your date, time, notes for the event, and just a lock setting if you want to change that. If you want the event to go to multiple people's diaries, you can just select the participants and then click create event. And similar with events, you can click in and make it a recurring event if you like, in the same fashion that you would a class. And finally, let's just have a quick look at notes. They're very straightforward. Just click on note, add a little reminder, and then you can change the color if you like and click create. And again, these can all be moved around if you need to. So the client arrives for their appointment on the day of the booking. So you can click into that appointment. You can go up to status up the top here and you can mark them as arrived. We've also got confirmation statuses as well. So if you receive a phone call and they've confirmed that they're coming, you can change them to confirmed. But today we're going to mark them as arrived, and you'll see that appointment changes color, and you'll also see the client showing up in the arrivals box so you can know exactly who's in the waiting room. When you do arrive the client, the provider will also get a little notification down here to alert them that Tim's arrived for their appointment. At this stage, once they're taken into their appointment, yourself, the reception team, or the provider can set that client in session. It's going to remove them from that box, and it's also going to turn that appointment green, so we know exactly where everyone is in the diary. Now, once the client comes out of their appointment, and let's say they want to rebook, you can click into here, appointment, and rebook, which will just give us this little calendar icon, allowing you to choose the next appointment. Allows you to do multiple if you want, but today I'm just rebooking once, so I can click no. And as you can see, that original appointment stays in there, but we've rebooked Tim for the next appointment. You've also got the option to cancel appointments in here, which will remove them completely from the diary. Or you've got a DNA status as well if you want to keep that appointment in the diary, and it just turns the appointment a red color. If you need to book in recurring appointments for clients, you've got that option in here. And if you want to look at the client's full appointment list, we can click on here and it'll take you to their profile and to their booking list. Moving across to client info. So this is just a quick link to get back to their full client profile, which I'll show you shortly. And then we've got a link to their client accounts area, which will show you all their historical invoices. You can make any changes that you might need to invoices as well from within there. If you're a clinician, you'll also be interested in this clinical notes button, because this is where you'll be creating your clinical notes from. We'll cover that in a bit more detail later on. Moving across to communications, this is where you can send a client a message regarding their appointment. You've also got the option to send a client form once you've set up client forms, which we have videos on. And then we've also got the option to start a telehealth appointment from here. So again, this will be dependent on if you've got any telehealth integrations turned on in the back end. Then we've got our generate invoice button just here. So once the client's come out from their appointment, you can just double check you've got the right case, the right payer, the right consult, click generate invoice and pay for session. And it's going to pull in everything you need for that invoice, including who the invoice should be addressed to, the fee for the invoice, and as you can see, the balance down here. Now, if the client's going to be paying today, you can just put in the amount that they're going to pay. So this client, let's say, is paying $50 cash, $50 card, and as you can see, it automatically updates that balance for us. If it was a third-party invoice, you would have a different payer set up here. You could just leave these payment fields empty because the third party is going to pay that invoice, and then you could email it off to the third party simply by putting a tick next to the third party's email address. Because it's a private invoice, you'll see that we've got the client's email address here. So again, if you want to send them a copy, you could just tick there, and then it's just a matter of saving and printing that invoice. So today I will just save invoice. And as you can see, this appointment's now changed color again, just so that we can I'll cross who's been invoiced for. It doesn't necessarily indicate payment, but it indicates that an invoice has been raised for that appointment. If you need to make any changes to that invoice, you can just click back into that appointment window, click on invoice raised, and then make any adjustments. So change the service code, refund payment, or you can delete payment or delete transaction. So there's a few different options there. Okay, so let's have a look at how you can take payment for classes. So we'll click into this group session we've booked, and we've got Tim, and then we've also got 2 other clients attending. So Tim would like to just pay for his classes as he comes in. So we can just raise the invoices as we would like a service, pay for class, take the payment, or send it off to the third party, and then save invoice. And so that's Tim, all paid. Bailey, on the other hand, they actually came in to the clinic yesterday and they bought a pass, a 10-session pass. And so that's already been put on their account and they've got 10 sessions remaining still. So what we can do with Bailey is just click on this redeem, change the provider if we need to. And now Bailey's pass has been redeemed for that session. And Ash, on the other hand, they would like to purchase a pass today, and also redeem that pass at the same time, and then have passes for their future bookings. So what we can do is just click purchase pass, choose the pass that we want, take the payment if we need to. And what it'll do is raise the invoice for the pass. It'll also redeem one of the sessions at the same time. So if we go into next week and click on Ash, we can see that they've only got 9 sessions left because we used that first session at the time of invoicing for the pass package. And if you want to just track their passes, if you go into client details and go into the passes section, you'll be able to have a look at the pass that they've purchased and have a look at how they've used it, change the total sessions if you need to, or if it's no longer an active pass. And then you can also print or email attendance lists to whoever they need to go to as well. All right, so let's talk about how to access the full client profile. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The first way is to click into that booking in the diary, click on client info, client details, and that's going to take us to the full client profile. The other option, so if the client doesn't have a booking in the diary, but you want to access a client profile, you'll just need to go into clients up here and start searching for their name. You can use a few different fields, name, last name, their phone, email, date of birth. And also from here, you can search invoice numbers. So if you've got an invoice number, you're not sure who it belongs to, you've got that field as well. As you can see, we've got one result displaying. So we can select this client profile. If you wanted to create a new client profile from this client's area, you've just got your create client button down the bottom right hand side here. So I'm going to click into Tim's profile, and as you can see, you've got all your different areas down the left hand side, starting with profile, which as you can see is your basic client details. Health just has a few different fields like next of kin, private health, Medicare number, that sort of thing. We've also got an extra area in here, which you'll only see once you've started to set up extras, which can be done via setup, practice extras, and it allows you to add new fields into your client profile. So as you can see, these are the extra fields that we've created, but you can create any fields that you might like. So any fields that you feel like Nookal might be missing, you can just set them up as an extra, and then they'll appear on every client profile. Moving down, we've got cases. So cases, pretty much everything you do. So booking an appointment, raising an invoice, writing a clinical note, writing a letter, all linked to a particular case. So if we click into this case for Tim, you've got that case title that we created before. You can very easily edit that from in here. This is where you can create or add your marketing referrers, and you can also add your contacts for this case. This will become more important later on when you're writing letters. If you've added in contacts here, they'll show up as an option when you're writing your letters. So if the client did have someone paying for their appointments, you can add a payer in. So let's add a third party in here. We're going to add in Allied Health Insurance. They're going to be paying for all appointments that Tim comes for. So I might update this now. So we've set up Allied Health Insurance as the payer. Now we might have a doctor who's referred the client to us, so you can add them in. You can add in their referral date, reference number. So if you need a reference number showing on the invoice, you can add in a reference number in here, and once printed or emailed, it'll show up for you. Injury date, case manager, and then moving down here, you've got the option to add in approved sessions. So let's say they've been approved for 5 sessions. We do also have the functionality to add in budgets, which we have a video on. So you can also add in an approved budget and have the invoices deducted off that budget each time the client attends. Once you're happy with that, just a matter of saving those changes, and they're now all set up. What you could do as well is link any bookings from here. So if you click on this little link button, as you can see, this appointment that we've just booked is still set up with the private payer, but we can update that. Click here, save changes. And then if we click back on that, you'll see now that Allied Health Insurance will be paying for that invoice. And so once you've set a session count and you've linked bookings to that payer, you can actually see the session count reflected as an icon in the diary. So you can keep track of how many sessions they may have and how many they've used. So each time we invoice and that invoice is linked to the case of the case payer, we'll see that number adjust on the appointments. All right, moving down into documents. This is where you can upload referrals, reports, anything like that. They all get filed underneath the case files. So the case files will be beige, but you can add additional folders, which will be a nice blue color. Okay, now moving down to clinical notes. From within clinical notes, you've got your notes, your letters, your plans, and your measures. And I'll cover each of those tools in more detail towards the end of the video. Now we've got our accounts area. So this is where you can see all the clients' historical invoices. So you can see that invoice we raised just before. And as I mentioned, you can come in here and make any edits to it. You can print an email. You can also create new invoices directly from their accounts area. But if it's relating to a booking, it's best to do that from the booking in the diary. Passes. So if you're going to be setting up passes for either classes or services, you'll be able to track what passes your clients have just in here. And then we've got our booking section, which shows you all the historical appointments and future appointments. And you can very easily print out a list or email a list to the client as well if you need to. And then finally, we've got our messages area. This is where you can see any incoming or outgoing SMS or emails. You've also got the option to send emails, send messages, and maybe even add phone calls that you might have had with the client. So you can just add a note in there, leave a note about making a phone call, and that'll show up in the history as well. So moving across the top here, you've got your contact. So this is anyone who you're going to be invoicing or communicating with will need to have a contact profile set up, and it's super simple to do. We've got a video on that as well. You can also add the contacts as you go along from the client profile area or whilst you're setting up an appointment. So that's contacts, reports, and as you can see, we've got quite a few different reports that you can access. Some on financials, some on provider management, some on managing or monitoring the business. A few that I'll just highlight quickly are your banking report. This is great for end of day reconciliation. We've got our aging debt report. This is great for chasing any invoices that don't have any payment attached. Uninvoiced bookings, a good way to make sure that all your bookings in your diary have an invoice raised. Activity report, which allows you to track any invoices raised in a certain period of time, regardless of whether there's payment linked to it. The providers and practice report is a good one. Clients and cases as well. We've got some marketing reports here. Last attendance, if you want to track people who had a booking in a certain time period but haven't returned. And then we've got our business performance report, which is a good report to monitor the business as a whole, and occupancy as well is a good one. So there's a few of our reports. They're pretty straightforward to use. You just click on the report. You've got a few different filters to use. Generally, there's a date range, locations, and providers, but depends on every report. You can generate that report, and then you've got the option to export as PDF, as a CSV, or you can print an email as well. Moving over to manage, I won't go into too much detail, but you've got your bulk invoicing, print appointment tool. You've got all your communication features in here, so reminders, appointment confirmations, and then we've also got our clinical tools. So this is where you'll set up your clinical templates, your letter templates, plans, outcomes can be switched on, and you can also create snippets. And again, we've got videos on a few of these topics, so if you want more information, you can check those out on our YouTube channel. Finally, just going into setup here, this is where you'll be able to set up new locations, set up services and classes, change staff details or update staff details, change your subscription, add SMS credits, set up online bookings, create client forms, and then we've got integrations here. So lots of different integrations that you can connect with. And again, we have lots of resources online where you can look at each of these topics. So depending on what you're interested in, go back to the diary now, just to show you the last thing, which is just our notification center in here. So if you click on this little button with the bell, you'll get notified of new forms or new online bookings, or if inventory is low, things like that. We've also got internal mail, internal tasks, and internal staff chat. So a few different features there. And then we've also got our waitlist. Waitlist, you can add clients in by clicking on add to waitlist, and then to add them to the diary, you can either click on the booking and then click add from waitlist, or you can very easily just drag them into the diary and then click create appointment, and they'll be removed from your waitlist. Now, finally, just in terms of getting support from our team, you've got a help button up here, which if you click on, will take you to our help center. So you can find a lot of different topics in here. You've also got the option to start a chat with our support team, or you can start a ticket, which is like an email. And we've also got some resources down here. So we've got our YouTube channel. So lots of videos in there that will help you with those specific topics. Okay, so the next part of this video is going to be geared towards clinical tools. So if you're going to be writing clinical notes, letters, or clinical reports, please do keep watching. So with clinical notes, we really encourage you to write your clinical notes directly from the booking in the diary. So if you click into the booking and click on clinical notes, and the reason being is that if you do it this way, the clinical note and the booking will link up, and you can then stay on top of what bookings in the diary have clinical notes attached. So definitely get into the habit of doing that. So if you click on clinical notes, you'll be able to see all the clinical note templates that you can choose from, so assessments or standard consult note. And all of these come from your clinical template area, which I'll show you now. So if you go into manage, clinical templates. And as you can see, we've got all our templates down here on the right-hand side, and we've also got charts on the left-hand side. To add a new chart, you can just click Upload Chart, and then select the JPEG or image file that you want to upload. And once it's uploaded in here, you'll then be able to add it to any of your templates. Now, if you want to create a whole new template, and you can create as many as you like, just click down here onto Create Template. Today, we'll just quickly have a look at one that already exists. So maybe this one, so that you can see one that's already been generated. So on the left-hand side, you'll have all your fields, and on the right-hand side, you get a preview of what everything looks like. So it's just a matter of building out that template using this Add Field tool. And if we just create one now and click into it, it'll open up for us. And same with all these, you can just open them up or close them. And then you can see the different types of fields that we have. So your standard just text fields, we've got charts, date and times, if you just need an extra heading, multiple choice checkboxes, drop down numbers. So quite a few options there. You can label the field as well. If you need to change the order of anything, you can just use the drag and drop tool to reorder, and you'll see it reflected straight away on the right-hand side. So you can make sure that your note is just as you need it. So once you're happy with your note, just remember to click Save Changes. Okay, so now that you know how to create and edit templates and add charts, let's go back and have a look at creating that clinical note. So we'll just go back through the diary just so you can see that process again. So click into Tim, clinical notes, and then we're going to select one of the templates. You've also got this little category organizer so you can narrow down a particular note that you might need. And today I'm going to select the one we just looked at. As you can see, the appointment time and date will automatically default there, and you can just start typing in the information relating to the appointment. Any fields that you complete will automatically be taken across to the clinical note on the right-hand side. But if you leave a field blank, that field just won't go across into the clinical note. You've also got these tools on the right-hand side. So we've got our snippets, which essentially bring in a chunk of frequently used text. And these can all be set up in the back end, so via Manage Clinical Snippets. We also have a video on that topic, so I'll link it in for you. And then we've got symbols as well, so you can just quickly add in a particular symbol that you might need. Our charts, you've got all your tools across the bottom here to annotate those charts, and you can quickly change a chart to a different type if you need to as well. Okay, now once you've finished your note, or you're not quite finished and you just want to save a draft, you can click this Save Draft button, and that draft will just sit at the top of the clinical notes for this case for the client. So we can just click back into there, change what we need to, and then select Finalize. Once you've finalized that note, you'll just see it on the right-hand side with all the other historical notes, and they're just in order of date, which is why this one's slotted in just underneath the one at the top. This will show you all the notes relating to this particular case, but if you've got multiple cases open, you can select all cases and you'll be able to see all the notes down the bottom. You've also got the option to collapse these notes and then expand, of course. Now just looking at these little icons across the top here. So they've got a few different functionalities. So if you realize that actually this particular note's incomplete, I want to change something, although we don't have an edit function, you can just copy to current notes, make whatever changes you might need to make, and then finalize that note. If you then need to delete an older note, you can do that by clicking on this one. And also within this tool, you can change the client and case that the note's for. So if you've accidentally raised it under the wrong case, you can easily change that. And you can also link it back to a booking. So if you realize that you've not generated that clinical note linked to a booking, you can just click Change Date, select the booking that it should be linked to, and then click Next, and it'll automatically link that booking for you. Finally, we've got this little pin tool on the top right-hand side. If you click on that, it'll just pin the note so we know that it's important. It'll bring it to the top of the notes, and it'll also obviously change it to a green color for us. And then you can just unpin at any time if you need to. If you need to add just an ad hoc note, so something that's not necessarily needing a template, you can just click this Add Note button, If you want to export any clinical notes, you can just click print email and then just follow the steps from there. And then you've also got the option just to discharge the case or reopen the case as well. Okay, so just before we move on to looking at letters, I just want to show you what a booking in the diary will look like if the note's been correctly attached to the booking. As you can see, there's that little note icon there, which indicates that there's a clinical note written for this booking. We've got our article that summarizes all the icons and colors and things like that. As you can see, there are a few different ones here. So I'll link that video as well to here so you can learn a bit more about that. But if we go back into Tim's clinical note area and we want to write a letter, same concept, you've got all your templates here and they can just be created via Manage Clinical Letter Templates. So if you click on the particular template, you can go in and edit it. You've also got the option to duplicate, or if you want to create a completely new template, you can do that as well. So if we click into here, you've got a few options on the top right-hand side, so you can remove the letterhead, remove a date, things like that. And then you've just got the bulk of the letter in here, so you can build this out however you like. You've got all your font and formatting sort of tools up the top here. And we've also got placeholders. So placeholders can be used in this template so that you don't have to type the client's first name over and over. It'll just pull through whoever you're writing the clinical letter for. Now, letter templates obviously are used for writing letters, but they can also be built to create your clinical report writing. So yeah, you can create a complex report so that when you go to write the report for the client, it's a much easier process. So just keep that in mind as well. So once you've got your letter ready to go, or your template ready to go, we'll just go back into Tim's profile and we're just going to select the template that we need to use. What we're going to be doing is selecting who it's going to. So in this instance, let's say it's going to these guys. Again, you can still edit anything in here and you can still edit the bulk of the message as well. What we want to do as well is select who it's going to be sent from. So if it's going to be sent from a particular provider, we're going to select their name here. And that's especially important if you've got this sender, qualification, discipline, signature placeholders. It's going to pull through this sender's signature, and that can just be set up via their staff profile. So set up users staff. And then you've got the option to add in anyone who needs to be CC'd into that letter as well. The other thing that you can do in your letters is add in images from the client file or shared images. And you can also pull information from your clinical note. So you can either use the copy to letter function for the whole letter, for the whole clinical note, or you can just choose a particular section and then copy that across. All right, so once you've finished with your letter and you're happy to save it, just click here. You've got the option to edit, replicate, print, and of course email. So if you click email, it'll automatically pull through the recipients for you and you can just send that off. Now, any of our letters that we create will just come in under documents. So you can see that in the clinical note area. We can go into documents here. And then if we pull open that folder, you can see the letter that we've just written. All right, let's just quickly go through plans and measures. So plans are government type forms that you can complete electronically rather than having to handwrite. And as much information will pull through from the fields that you've set up in the client profile, but then there's some things that you'll need to complete. And once you save that, you'll get a preview and you can see it sort of fills out the form for you. And if you want to turn on plans, just go to Manage Clinical Plans and you can just select the ones that you wanted to use. And finally, we've got our outcome measures. So again, these are common assessments that you can turn on in the back end, again, via Manage Clinical Outcome Measures. And you can just toggle the ones on that are going to be relevant to you. And then you can click on the outcome measure and choose to send it to the client via SMS, email, to start on this device or to send to an intake device such as an iPad. And once these measures are completed, they'll also show up on your clinical note, in your clinical note history, and it'll just graph the results each time the client completes that outcome measure.